What is up, everybody? This is Brian, the Toyota guy, over here at Fred Anderson Toyota in Asheville, and today I just want to take a few minutes to kind of just showcase this Grand Highlander Hybrid Limited. This is another car that I have sold. It's actually going home today, and typically I just like to spend a few minutes when I get a chance to sell or specifically be in something that's a little bit more unique or special for the new Toyota lineup. I'd like to just take a few minutes to kind of talk about the car, throw it up on YouTube so you guys can check out something if you're looking for a build like this. So without further ado, let's go take a walk and I'll talk to you about this car. All right, so again, this is a 2024 Grand Highlander Hybrid. This is a limited and my favorite color, Storm Cloud. Now, the very first actually the very first video I did on a Grand Highlander was on this color. It was the very first one that we had. It was an XLE gas model, and again, this one's a limited hybrid, so it's just a little bit different. This one actually does not have a whole lot of packages on it. It's pretty standard, minus the mud guards that are on here. It's got the panoramic roof, which I'll show you, and it has some like rear cargo lamps. So this doesn't have like the 360 camera and some of the other options that are available on these, but still, Storm Cloud has become really hard to get, especially in a hybrid. So I'm happy to finally have one of these that I can send home myself. Now, of course, the big deal with these Grand Highlanders is the space. If you're curious on physical cargo dimensions, I've actually done a video on this topic specifically where I went over the exact dimensions on the length and the width, and I believe even measured the height. I actually compared the Grand Highlander to a regular Highlander just to kind of show you the differences and the fact that you do gain quite a bit more storage back here. And I believe the headroom was even more, but you can see just from kind of looking at it, this is a lot more room than what's in a Highlander or a Pilot or a Telluride. I think the only SUV that's out there that's not like a Tahoe or something that's got similar space to it is actually a Volkswagen Atlas. Those are pretty similar from what I've seen as far as dimensions and legroom and headroom and stuff like that for the rear occupants. So we'll go ahead and close that. You can see this one does have the black interior. This does have the captain's chairs. I know it's been pretty popular. A lot of people have been looking for the bench seat in these Grand Highlanders, and that is a lot more difficult to find. I'd say there's about probably 1 in 5 or 1 in 4 Grand Highlanders that have the bench seat configuration with 3 in the middle as well as 3 in the back, making it an 8-passenger vehicle. You can see here with the captain's chairs, you do have this really nice fixed center console, which does give more cup holders, as well as some little pockets here, which are padded, as you can see, for like a tablet or a book or a phone. They've got this little pocket here, which is great for storage also. And then with this being a limited, you do have the outboard rear heated seats. You can see have the buttons here. There's a little bit of a glare from the sun. Of course, third row air, really smart phone charger integration, where you can see they are on the back of the center console now for the second row. Third row also has their own phone chargers right here. You can see it's over the shoulder of the rear second row, but right there in front of the cup holders, it's on both sides. So really good options for charging phones all the way around. These, just like the Highlanders and Siennas, do have the rear privacy shades. Now, unlike the Sienna, these privacy shades are only on the second row. There's nothing for the third row. Siennas do have it all the way back, which is, obviously a nice feature to have. But you can see here, I do have this second row seat all the way back, and this seat up here is almost all the way back as well. And there's definitely enough room. It's actually really comfortable. I've got pretty good sized feet, but there's plenty of leg room, plenty of headroom, plenty of shoulder room, really nice cup holders and pockets all the way on both levels here of the door. It's actually interesting. They've got a weird shape to this. It's like taper for some reason. I don't know what they've got it tapered for. They specifically say it's not for drinks. So they've got the cup holder down here, as well as, of course, the one here in the center. So really nice space there. The third row, though, I'll go ahead and climb in there. So you can see that slides forward. So you do step here through the plastic. So we'll climb in. Again, I'm 6'3", so it's a little awkward to climb in the third row. I'd say that's the worst part of it. But now that I'm back here, so this second row is completely all the way back. Like, it is slid all the way back. And yes, when it is all the way back, there is, it's tight back here for my knees. My feet are actually okay for the most part. I can put them here. I could put them over here. Technically, you could sit 3 back here, but I think for most of us, 2 in the back is gonna be great if you have adults. 3 kids would be fine. But the nice part is there's definitely enough room where if you move this seat up just a little bit further, I'm totally fine. So depending on who's sitting where, there's enough room for everybody. Just depends on how you want to configure it, but a lot more usable space. And I'll go ahead and, well, I was gonna flip around, but I guess I can't do that. But good headroom back here. I do have the seats reclined a little bit to help with that, but it's one of those kind of SUVs where you can fit 6 adults in this car and still have some room for some backpacks and day packs, things in the back there. So it's definitely a great choice to be in between a Highlander and a Sienna. So we'll go ahead and climb up front now. Awkwardly, I'll climb out of this bad boy. Ugh. Ugh. Up front here, I'll just give a quick tour of the passenger side. You can see with the Limited, you do have the perforated leather seats, as well as slightly upgraded leather here with the stitching. Now it's Softex trim, so the whole thing's not leather. There's a combination of both going on here. But I do love the pockets that you have on both sides. You can see that's on the center console, so a really good spot to store whatever. I've always loved the Highlander's pockets up here on the dashboard. Of course, you've got a massive, glove box, kind of what you'd expect there. Good cup holders here. There looks like there's actually a total of 3, including one that's hydro flask size or one of those abnormal size water bottles. You've got a roll top storage situation here for the center console. And you can see it's a really nice deep center console. So just like what you'd see in the Sienna or the Highlanders, really good space with this little plastic tray that can slide around or be removed. So you can have tons of extra room in there. Interestingly enough, I'm seeing this little pocket here. There's a groove here, and I almost feel like if I did this right, I could probably line that tray up in there and possibly store it in the side. I don't know, kind of interesting. I'd be curious to play with it more with 2 hands and see if that is the case. But really good room over here. Now we'll go ahead and show you from the driver's perspective. Now this is a hybrid again, and I point that out because this car has been running the entire time I've been making this video, and as you'd expect with a hybrid, there is little to no noise going on. This is a derivative of the traditional hybrid Toyota architecture where it's got the 2.5 liter and the hybrid system. This is not one of the hybrid maxes with the turbo engine and more power, but as you can see here, this is one of those examples where currently, I have this, actually there's a little bit more. Currently I have this front driver's side seat all the way back, and I'm 6'3", and if I'm not gonna lie, there's more room than I really have to have when it's all the way back. I could move the steering wheel a little bit closer to make it less awkward, but my point here is there's more than enough legroom for even taller passengers, or drivers rather. I would probably move the seat up to about right here to be the most comfortable with my driving situation, which means you can free up a lot more space behind you in that second row, which is important depending on who is driving and sitting and all that. The Limited does have, I believe it's a 12.3 inch information display here. This is configurable. This is actually similar to the GR Corolla in a lot of ways, believe it or not. But you can see there's a lot of information that you can have on here as far as driving information, stuff that you'd expect to see. Adaptive cruise mode, fuel economy and trip data. There's all kinds of things. You don't have a tachometer. Hybrids always have this little eco and power meter going on, as well as the digital speedometer here. You can see you've got the digital speed there in the center also. So there's a little bit of things you can do to kind of configure things. You can go in and change settings on some of these and decide what it is you might want to look at. If you go to map here, I believe if you have navigation going, it'll give you some different information. You can see it kind of switches up the view. I don't have anything going here, so that's why this is blank. but kind of nice. So as you kind of get settled with it, there's more things you can do to configure it. This is the larger 12.3 inch screen as well for the Limiteds. They come standard with this. This is an upgrade that you can get for the XLEs. This does have the JBL stereo. Again, that's standard as well. But of course, you've got auto climate here, dual zone. Really, it's a tri-zone if you include the rear seating. There's your ventilated seats as well as your heated seats. Nice clicky tactile buttons. Easy to get access to no matter your glove or hand situation there. I say this a lot, but I still love that Toyota has opted to keep all of their climate control as physical buttons. So even if you don't want to use the auto, which in a lot of other cars is all you can adjust, here you can still adjust fan speed manually, and you can still adjust like temperature and direction where you want to actually have that air going. All that can be done without having to actually touch the screen whatsoever. So that's a really handy feature. You can also control the rear air from here as well, which is a really nice feature. And then this has become Toyota's connected drive experience now. So this is Drive Connect specifically, which is their on-demand or subscription-based, cloud-based navigation system. It's one of those things you have to pay for to keep in the long run. If the car has it included, I think it has 3 years, and beyond that you have to pay for it. Not my favorite. All of these do now support wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so I feel like for most people that's going to be the way to go. Nice, easy to use layout though. Touchscreen is extremely responsive. On all of these newer screens with Toyotas, they've really upgraded the panel as a whole. I have no clue if they're actually OLED or not, but the experience is 1,000 times better. The blacks are blacker, the colors are richer. When you put this thing on the night mode, it looks really good. Let me see if I can go here. See if I remember where to do that actually. Yeah, display. So let's go ahead and put it on nighttime just to show you how that looks. So you can see it's extremely black. It might not be an OLED because I see there's a little bit of light coming from the black pixels there, but it looks really good at nighttime. The automatic mode honestly works really well. It's going to get dark fairly quickly, so you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about it blinding you at nighttime. But obviously having this bigger screen, let's go back to automatic, is handy. Just because everything's a lot more accessible to both the driver and the passenger. You get more information on the screen from your Apple CarPlay as well. Of course, Bluetooth and all your normal stuff. Here you can see your climate control on the screen if you choose to, as well as the energy flow. This is kind of like the chart Toyota's used for a long time for their hybrids, if you just kind of like to see what's going on with the system at all times, as well as different bits of information I include in my nerd graphs, if you will, where you can see driving information, fuel economy, estimated range. You can see I've been in the car now for 17 minutes total, so on and so forth there. So really easy screen to operate. It's different from the older Toyotas, but I feel like there is a flat learning curve. Like you have to learn how to use it, but then once you do that, it does not change. It's really easy to operate, really easy to move around between, you know, XM, FM, Bluetooth, you know, Apple CarPlay, whatever it is you want to look at is on here. Of course, I'm not gonna turn it on because of demonetization on YouTube, but really good stereo with the JBL. It's not gonna necessarily rattle your neighbor's windows, but it does work well. As far as the rest of the things from the driver's perspective, I know we kind of talked about the storage situations, but we'll talk about some of the extra driving buttons here. It is important to note that Toyota still with their hybrids has a traditional shifter here for automatics. There's no knobs or dials or buttons you've got to dance around with. Power button is located right here within arm's reach when you hop in the car. You do have USB here. This one is the one for wired CarPlay and Android Auto for this screen, but you do have a quick charge that's right off the dashboard as well. This does have the wireless charging pad that is underneath of here. You can see the light for it, and then there's an additional pocket here which is deep enough that you could probably put 2 phones in here. This is plastic, this is also plastic, but that's got the rubberized coating where the wireless charger is. You do have extra USB ports. Actually, I thought you had USB ports in here. Oh, that's right, it's on the dashboard now. I forgot about that. And a lot of Toyotas, they have the extra USB ports down here in the center console, but they've actually moved it now, where you do have a third USB port for the passenger all the way up here, which I do love that, because if you have a shorter phone cable, you can just plug it right in, set your phone there on the tray, and it's completely out of the way. Over here, you've got the quick charge or the option for the screen. So depending on if you're using the wireless, this will be the fastest way to charge your phone versus, honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the wireless charging. So there is that. As far as the rest of the kind of drive related controls, here's your electronic parking brake, which does turn on and off every single time you actually put it in drive, so you don't have to worry about turning it off every time like in some Hondas. Drive modes here, which most people aren't going to mess around with, but you do have a sport mode and an eco mode, which just changes kind of how the car responds to your driving. Same thing with trail. It's going to basically cut some power and make the ABS system work a little bit more over time. EV mode is a joke. I could pretty much do a whole video on why this button should not exist on these hybrids. The downhill assist mode is nice. That is a feature that is missing on a lot of SUVs, but that can kind of help control your speed if you're going down a steep hill, which is important, especially in snow or in any kind of low traction scenarios where you don't want to ride the brakes a ton. So really nice, easy to get to from here. Again, most of this stuff here, even including here, most people are not going to touch or use. This is the brake hold button, which can use the electronic parking brake to keep the car from rolling in heavy traffic situations. So that is nice if you're, if it's one of those things you like to use a ton. Again, I don't feel like a lot of people use it, but I know people that love it or use it, love it. Steering wheel controls are easy to operate. Getting a little bit too much airflow going in here. This is a pretty typical Toyota steering wheel. You do have all of your drive-related controls here as far as your adaptive cruise. You can change the following distance there. You can see those bars are moving around. Then I'll give you, looks like 4 levels of bars now that you can adjust. In the past, it was just 3. So a little bit more configurability there. This is the lane centering. This is how you can actually now switch in between a lot easier if you want to use the adaptive cruise or standard. I personally love adaptive. I think it works really well, even though I could care less for the lane keeping. That's just me. Everything on this bottom row here, this is your controls for the screen as far as skipping tracks, changing through different audio modes, as well as volume and Bluetooth. You can trigger your hands-free device that way with Siri or Google Assistant. And then this is the D-pad that I was using to adjust the screen. So a really nice modern layout. Limited does, of course, have the leather-wrapped steering wheels. I should point out there is the heated steering wheel control here. That's obviously for the rear tailgate. That's for the rear power supply and the power inverter, rather. And that is the automatic high beams, which goes really well with the automatic headlamps. And then, of course, this does have the automatic wipers as well. So Limited's a good way to go if you want to have a lot more bells and whistles. We talked about the pano roof briefly. But you can see here, there is the electric shade for the panoramic roof. This is a panoramic roof that can tilt and slide. So you can see there's a piece of glass that moves. Really a good sized piece of glass. Some pano roofs in some cars are fixed, but it's nice to see that that's not a fixed pane. Then again, with the black interior, you can kind of see throughout this video, you've got these fake wood accents on the doors. It's fake wood, it's plastic for sure. It's not anything that's too crazy, too nice, but I do think it looks good. Actually, I'm in park. I thought it was freaking out that I wasn't. You do have power folding mirrors, standard on the Limiteds here, as well as you can see the memory seats as well. Blind spot system, there's all kinds of safety features that are baked in with these Toyotas nowadays. But really good looking Grand Highlander. This is one that's highly sought after. This will be actually my first hybrid of these that I believe that I've sold. I could be wrong on that. And that's just because there are so many of us that work here and so few of these that actually come in. I've sold a couple gas ones, but I think this is going to be my first delivery on a hybrid. So I'm excited to share this with you guys. I should have another one coming in soon that I will probably show you guys that will have a bench seat. So if you want to see more content on these, or if you've got questions on these Grand Highlanders, feel free to leave me a comment down below. Or of course, if you're interested in buying one, you can contact me here at the dealership, or you can find me on Facebook. I've got a Brian the Toyota Guy Facebook page. You're welcome to contact me there. Quick little thing I wanted to add that I almost forgot is for those curious on the key situation, Toyota is still living in the world where on these Grand Highlanders, you only get one key fob to drive home with, one laser cut key blade, the insert that goes inside the second key fob, and they are still relying on the service campaign, much like a recall as far as how they notify, to notify people of their second key. The good news is the second key program seems to be a lot quicker now than how it was about a year or so ago. Still pretty bad. I think Toyota is kind of ridiculous for only sending people home with one key. That's just my own personal opinion, and that's really it there. But from what I've seen, it is only taking about 3 months on average from the last customers that I've had that are getting this key situation on Siennas and things like that. So it's better than it was before, where it's about a year out. So I figured I'd go ahead and add that in as well. All right, so that's going to do it for today. For those of you guys that subscribe to the channel and you've watched all these, I really do appreciate your support. It is kind of nice to see that there's some videos gaining traction, especially since I don't have the time to put a lot of production value in these videos. So if you've made it this far, again, I thank you so much for watching these videos, especially if you're looking for a more down-to-earth, kind of hands-on with one of these cars. That's my whole intent. Yes, I do sell cars, but I want to give you kind of a real feel of what these things are to actually interact with. So as always, thanks for watching. Have a great day.